For this card, we only need a few little items for this. We need to have the old olive card base. Okay, let's place that off to the side. So we have the old olive card base. What we want to do is we're going to take a portion of this front of this card off. So we need this card base also, and we're going to take that. We will be doing some cutting on that. We need to have our sentiment, and there is a tag with it, which is like Calypso Coral and some color behind that. We also need to have one of these labels, and you'll notice there's a really big label. We don't need that one. We need the smaller one just down here on that. I was thinking maybe we'll just add a couple of these little fronds behind some of the items. So let's get started and do some cutting. We're going to put our card base off to the side, so we don't need that at the moment. Now this card will be landscape, so we need to cut this down. We're going to cut it to 3 3/4 by 4 1/4. So first of all, 4 1/4. So I'm going to do that first. So there is the card right there. So it's going to cut right on that score line, and we're going to put this and have this reserved for a card later on. Now I need to make this 3 3/4 high, so I want to have the majority of the flowers. So I'm going to turn this, and I'm going to look for 3 3/4 and place it there. So I want to have the majority of the flowers on the top. I'm just going to cut that. Reserve this for another piece. Maybe we can make something with that later. So this is at now cut down to the correct size. Let's bring in our card base. So you'll see it fits really nicely in here. Top, bottom, left, right. A left and right is a little bit thicker than the top and bottom. What we can do is we can glue this straight down, or if you feel like it, let's go wild and add some dimensionals on this. Oops. We're going to just add that onto the front. This is a really simple card. It is an alternate design, but you know, comes to get together very quickly. What we're going to do, remember we had those little labels and the sentiment. I'm going to put the label right across. Remember there's that little piece right here, this little triangle. I'm going to kind of cover it a little bit so that this is kind of overhanging just a little bit on the left-hand side. Again, let's add some dimensionals, or you can glue it straight down. Totally up to you. Again, laying that over. Let's overhang it just a tiny bit on the bottom, so it's a little longer and a little bit over there. I'm going to bring in next, what we can do is I'm just actually going to take these little fronds and I'm going to lay them on here and see how they look. If I don't like them, I can always take them away, but you know what? They are looking pretty cool, and I think I just might add them. And I just had an idea about these flowers here, but let's see how we're going to do. I was thinking, remember we had some ephemera packs of the Hollyhocks? What if we added some on here? Let's give that a thought for a moment. We have 2 more alternative cards to create, so I wanted to make sure that I have enough of those little Hollyhock ephemeras left over to create with this one. And guess what? We ended up having 1 left over with this little frame around. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually take this and I'm going to cut these guys out. So I'm going to cut this guy out. I just need to kind of fussy cut on this little stem here and on the top. And you know what? I could always leave that in there, but I don't think it's going to look right. So I'm just going to fussy cut that little portion of the frame out. And I'm going to get as close to the flower as I can to make it look like it's a part of it. And it's actually coming in pretty good. There's a bit of a sharp edge. I just want to kind of round it a bit so that it doesn't look like a sharp edge. So when you do that and snip off the corners, the sharp edges are gone, and it's going to look really good. And I think, look at that, I can actually put that on there. I want it to kind of go a little higher, but I notice that these kind of go off. I'll deal with that in a minute. I'm kind of liking this a lot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave these, I guess I could leave the green guys on this side, or we can always tuck them behind, kind of like that. I don't know. And just leave that these flowers are like that. I don't know. It's kind of up to you. Always make sure you move them around. And I think I kind of like them behind here. What I'm going to do is actually cut these guys apart, because most of this will be hidden behind the hollyhocks. There we go. We got to hide it behind the hollyhocks. And I'm going to add a dimensional to that just to kind of hold it down. Remember, don't go too high because of the card height. I'm going to add the green one in, cutting this apart so that I can use this. Maybe I can use it somewhere else. And again, behind here, oh, helps, makes it stickier if I take the back off. I'll place that on there, and I'm going to add some dimensionals to this. Sometimes as you go along creating a card with a kit, you'll notice that when you lay things down, sometimes you get some different ideas, and that's exactly what happened here. So I'm going to go right to the height of that card and place that on here. Now this is a little bit long. All I need to do is kind of cut it flush with that card base. Let's go back to this sentiment here. Remember, I got these two little ones left. Oops, got too much going on here. I can actually use these and tuck it behind the sentiment all together like that. And actually, I think that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take that, kind of splay it a little bit, and I'll make it kind of like a U shape and tape it down. Okay, and so we got that on the U shape. It's kind of coming out. That actually adds a little bit more than the original card. Let's add our this little piece here, this little layer here. And because this was on dimensionals, we need to also add this onto dimensionals. Otherwise, you'll see it's kind of flopping over. See? Not quite straight. So I need to make that top part a little bit more flush. And I'm taking the dimensional flat edge and I'm going along there. I'm going to take this right on top. Again, if I add my sentiment to it, I need to add the sentiment dimensionals on the bottom, again, so it's not flopping over. And it will be fairly flush. Again, on the bottom portion where the sentiment is, add these on here. And I'm going to just pop that on there. There we go. And you'll notice that this does create kind of a circular visual portion of that, and that's what I was aiming for. I really like this. I think it looks really nice with the added hollyhock on there compared to this one. Again, let's add some Wink Stella to our flowers. Maybe some in here. There we go. And some little bit of embellishments peeking around. There we go. We got our embellishments. So there is the other card. That looked really good. Sometimes, as I say, when you're making something, you might have an idea. Just go with it. You never know where it's going to take you.